Hey everybody, this is Cromar with TGN, and I'm here today to bring you another Rift video. And today we're taking a look at another Cleric spec. This is the 51 Inquisitor in-game raid DPS. And again, I have guest star Viper here from my guild, Invictus, on Snarebrush, and he has defaming me in /say. So I'm going to switch over to the combat log so you guys don't have to put up with his obscenity. But go ahead, Viper. Introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. It's me, Viper.
I asked him not to do funny voices, but he's going to do them, so there's nothing we can do about that. So anyway, I'm on my Cleric alt, so we can look at the talents here. And you said your spec is 51 Inquisitor, 15 Cabalist, and third spec doesn't matter. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. 51 Inquis, definitely want those passive buffs, of course. 15 Cabalist, because if you don't take Cabalist, you're a retard. And then I put Sentinel because I like the heal.
Okay. The instant cast heal to save yourself or whatever. Okay. All right. Because if you have a mob selected and you hit it, it'll heal yourself, and so that'll get you out of a tight situation. Okay. So but overall the third doesn't matter. You can get Purifier for the shield or the Warden for the hot yourself or whatever. It doesn't really matter. The focus of the build, of course, is the 51 Cabalist or sorry, 51 Inquisitor, 15 Cabalist. Now for Inquisitor, obviously you're getting all of them. So the last talent here, Nasir's Rebuke. This is a pretty powerful ability, I take it.
It actually, when I first open up, let me start a rotation real quick. So you put on your debuff, Spiritual Decay. You put up Sanction Heretic, Vex. Ooh, I got a proc already, Bolt of Depravity. I hit Harsh Discipline, which is the thing that gives you health back. Then Nasir's Rebuke. They hit for like 500 a tick something, or roughly, on a crit, and 200 something on a non-crit.
Okay.
And the main part of this spec is keeping up Sanction Heretic and Vex and spamming the piss out of Bolt of Depravity.
Gotcha, gotcha. So Bolt of Depravity is your primary nuke, is that what you're saying?
Sorry, no, Bolt of Judgment, sorry.
Oh,
Bolt
okay,
of
okay,
Judgment.
okay.
And then when Bolt of Depravity, you proc Bolt of Depravity, if you proc it like I just did, boom, you hit it. And that gives you a small dot, as well as it does a large chunk of damage.
Okay. Yeah, I just saw your life and death, whatchamacallit, proc, and there's your Bolt of Depravity. Okay. I can never remember the name of this talent. Life and Death Concord, that's the one. Yeah, so that's the one that causes your Depravity to proc instant cast when you cast Bolt of Judgment or Sanction Heretic. Okay, cool. So yes, your rotation. That's a pretty simple rotation, actually.
Yeah, and I always use Harsh Discipline whenever it's off cooldown because it hits for 350 a tick, which is a lot, and it hurts. As well as it
Nice.
heals you, which makes it easier on the healer if you're in a
Right.
dungeon.
Do you ever have to find yourself using aggressive renewal, or do you not have a problem with mana?
I use it often, usually at least once or twice a fight. This spec is not mana friendly.
Oh,
I
really?
also would use Decay and then hit an Obliterate with the Sigil of Power buff on, and that brings me back up usually to 75% mana.
Right, and that came from Kabbalah, 6-point decay and obliterate, and then sigil power. So for people who are not familiar with the Kabbalist, the way that works, you do decay, you cast your channeled ability decay, and it builds up the lurking decay
Yep, if you
buff, which
target me,
stacks up to 3 times.
getting the buff right now. Yep. And then you can pop either Tyranny or Obliterate. It gets rid of the buff to do AoE damage.
So it's like an extra resource. You build up lurking decay and spend it on abilities.
Mm-hmm.
There's tyranny right here. Deals a bunch of damage in an AoE. And then the other one is Obliterate, which does a bunch of damage in AoE as well, except it consumes all of your Lurking Decays at once.
Mm-hmm.
And Lurking Decays consumed deal double damage. So Obliterate, obviously, is very powerful.
Oh yeah, it
Uh,
hits like a truck.
so, let's see here. And then Sigil Power, this is a buff you cast on yourself once every 2 minutes. And when you use your Obliterate, it blows the Sigil and restores a bunch of mana. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's the main reason you have that. So what are your talents in Cabalist?
I took, let's see here, I took Stroke of Genius, which increases your spell power by 5, and then in the tier 2 I took Entropy and Death's Grasp, which increases damage of channeled and damage over time spells, as well as increases spell damage. And
Okay.
that was it.
So there's nothing really you really need for the third tier here. Like I guess these are for AOE talents.
Yeah,
Use the
and
damage of your area
Dark
effect.
Water just is, the damage from it is so insignificant, it's much more useful to
Really?
get 5 points in Death's Grasp and Entropy.
Plus, to cast that, it's an extra 1.5 seconds you could be spending on a Bolt of Judgment.
Exactly. And Bolt of Judgment hits for 400, 500, 700, 800.
Okay.
Depends on crit or not.
And it can proc your Bolt of Depravity, which is even more powerful.
Yep.
Okay. So that makes sense. So when you were shooting the dummy earlier, were you parsing, or do you want to start a parse now?
Actually, let me check. I was parsing, and I am 527 DPS.
Nice. And in your last test we did a few minutes ago, you were 522. That's solo, no buff. That's not playing around. That's pretty good. It's not like super elite DPS, but our gear, both of us are geared, roughly. Well, your guy's geared more than mine, I think, actually. But we're both, like tier 1 geared, pretty much.
Yeah.
As I'm showing Viper's gear now, it's all epicked out, and but it's all like the tier 1 achievement gear, Black achievement
Yeah,
gear.
you're gonna have to ignore my planar essence and my trinket. The trinket is from the world event, but it's actually pretty damn good. But
Oh yeah.
my planar essence, you're gonna have to ignore that because I still have my healing one because I'm healing main.
Oh okay. Yeah, this trinket, I actually saw this trinket. Or no, what am I saying? I have this trinket on my rogue, actually, the rogue version of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty nice. And
But if if I didn't want to use that one, I always have Insignia of the Deep. Apparently I can equip it while I'm in combat.
is your dagger new?
I got it from, I think it was Charmer's Caldera. Oh, I'm trying to get out of combat with
Okay.
this freaking test dummy.
Yeah, it's annoying. You have to like run out of the zone.
Damn the combat log. There we go. Let me just flat back over there. Okay. Insignia of the Deep, I could always put that on. That's a used trinket. You have to click it and use it, or macro it, and it increases your spell crit. But
Oh yeah.
I found that having permanent stats is better than having that little 30 seconds of...
It probably is. I would not be surprised. I mean, I haven't really crunched numbers on that, but it usually is in these games.
Mhm.
What was the cooldown on that? Was it 2 minutes?
Um, it doesn't say.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's pretty nice DPS. I mean, especially for solo DPS, no buffs. And on my marksman, we just did a test on my rogue with my marksman build, which was not full marksman, but was 38 marksman, 17 assassin, 11 nightblade, and that came out to 520. Was it 520 even?
520 flat, yeah.
And in the past, I've done a test with the full marksman 51 point build. They came out to 510. And of course, there's going to be a little fluctuation and in those numbers. But I think if you're going to get over 500 solo DPS with no buffs, you're pretty much you're doing well. Now, Viper, did you say you had a build that you were able to test at higher DPS than that one?
Well, I don't have the build. Our fellow cleric, Tsukasu, he uses a... I'm not even sure of the
Shaman,
numbers, but it's a shaman... what is it? Shaman druid. More into druid all the way to get the satyr, or satyr, however you pronounce it. I don't care. And he does over 700 DPS.
Holy crap. Like,
Yeah,
now, he said he did it on a dummy solo or in a raid?
dummy solo.
Wow.
It's
So he has to be in melee.
I've parsed it with him. You have to be in melee. The thing about it is himself does about as much damage as me or you, 500, 520, but his pet does an additional 200. And that's what gives him the extra DPS. The only problems are keeping the pet alive and being in melee, but he seems to know it pretty well, and he does a pretty damn good job.
Yeah, I suppose as far as melee specs go, the Shaman Druid does have a lot of survivability. Like the Shaman has
Yep.
the Ice
Glacial
Shield.
Yeah.
Yeah, Glacial
It's
Shield.
really important that if you play a melee class, you're competent and aware. So
There.
people who are lazy like me and you can play
Yeah,
the ranged classes.
play range classes. We just sit back and spam our macros and just kind of like wait for the boss to die. That's how I play. That's the best I can. That's the best I can.
Buttons.
I'm always trying to. I mean, for my rogue, I really want to have range DPS specs that don't rely on a pet. That's also very key because pet AI in this game is so screwed up.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Okay, cool. Well, do we have anything else you want to go over? PvP. Do you PvP at all with this spec, or do you prefer a different spec for DPS?
Man, if I PvP, I usually go in as a healer, but if I have
Oh
to,
yeah, that's a good point.
I do like Inquis, just for the fact that it's ranged and I die before I can get up in melee as any other spec.
Yeah,
Unless I was like Justicar or something, but you can't kill anything as a Justicar. I,
yeah.
I like
You're
this
just kind of
spec
there.
in PvP because your aggressive renewal and harsh discipline
Hmm.
get slows as well as Nasir's rebuke as a stun.
Oh yeah, I can see that being powerful.
So you
Once
just
every
put
2 minutes.
yeah, you just put your dots up and then stun and then slow and
Hmm.
get some bewilder, which is a basically a confuse, just makes
Yeah.
them wander around. It's a fear pretty much, or excommunicate, which pushes people back. Plus you get this nice little dandy heal.
Now this spec really tears it up in AOE as well, right? Because of Soul Drain and Circle of Oblivion.
Oh yeah, let's show that off real quick. Let's
Obliterate.
show off Soul Drain.
The numbers don't appear in my combat log. That's probably my fault
Well,
for failing or something. But you can tell
let's
me
see
what
here.
they look like.
Soul Drain, boom. So I have 844, 844, 497. I couldn't even count because what it does is it launches 3 bolts towards 3 enemies, and each enemy hit deals 113 damage to up to 4 enemies. So these guys get hit and send out more shadow bolts from them.
Yeah, each one explodes. Right,
Yeah,
right.
and they do. It hurts, and that also puts a debuff on them that makes them take. See here, Soul Drain. It makes them take 10 or 7% more magic damage, and then
Right.
I would
That's the
just
same one.
cast.
The bard has that same debuff.
Then I would
But this one
cast.
hits. Well, the bard one hits an AOE also, actually.
So I would cast Soul Drain, and then I would cast Bound Fate, and then I would just sit here, Circle of Oblivion,
Yeah.
Soul
Bound Fate.
Drain,
So I'm just showing that. My video here is
Bound Fate.
8-second cooldown, 2-second cast time AOE. Yeah, there you go. All right, so Inquisitor, very happy with the spec. We'll feature the Shaman spec in the future. For now, because it is a little bit harder than most melee, but for now, this is what I would consider, if you agree with me, the premier Cleric DPS spec. Probably. Would you agree with
I,
that, or would you think Shaman maybe?
I would agree to an extent that if you know how to melee and you're competent and not lazy, I would go melee, Shaman, Druid, mainly Druid, I think. But I mean, if you just want a DPS and you don't have like the top skills or whatever, and you just want to be able to do deeps with everybody else, go Inquis.
Like me, right?
Yeah,
You want the bare minimum.
if you're a
You want the noob
Cromar
to.
and you just wanna if you're a Cromar and you just wanna be able to get into a dungeon and not get yelled at, Inquis. Inquis.
That's good because as I level this guy, I'll need that help. All right, well, thanks, Viper. It's been fun. I'll see you later.
Hey there, Cromar. You've been using that lotion.
All right, thanks, Sling Blade. All right, see you later.
Mm-hmm.